Hi. Until a few years back, we were all very confident about how Indian economy was doing. We had a consistent economic growth, but what we failed to see was there were certain structural problems which would get pronounced once a few things that we were getting all puffed up about, that is foreign direct investments getting plowed in the Indian economy and the exports getting higher, when these things go, the structural deformities of the economy would come to the fore, which exactly was the case after 2019. Once the FDI reduced, it's always considered fickle. You can never bank on it. So and there's a reason, of course. When the global economy is not doing well, they will not invest elsewhere. So the investments came down sizably. Second thing, they don't buy things from you. So the exports came down. And there were small little other factors that made things worse. The natural progression of all people, most people, was why doesn't government introduce a sizable, a notable fiscal stimulus to turn things around? Now, fiscal stimulus is the expenditure that the government makes, and they employ people, and when these people get employment, they spend, they save, but they don't save much, because these are not the people who get a lot of money. They are the people at the lower rung or maybe at the middle rung. So they end up spending a lot, right? So here's what I wanted to talk about. Since last year, there was talk about fiscal stimulus. Why isn't it there? There were some fiscal stimulus last year as well, but they were so little inconsistent that it did not stimulate the economy. But in any case, what I'm here to talk about is that this stimulus is an illusion. It gives an illusion of growth because people start spending because they get employments due to the projects that the government starts around the period when the economy is going through a lull. So there is a lot of consumption which makes aggregate demand look robust, but the investment part suffers quite a bit because people who consume quite a bit, they obviously don't save, and when they don't save, people who want to invest, they don't get the right amount of funds. So fiscal stimulus just does the redistribution of the liquidity of the redistribution of the resources in the economy so that it looks robust for a while. Until and unless, while the government is spending in the projects, which could include infrastructural projects, highways, hospitals, services, whatever it sees as most viable project, and projects that can involve a lot of people and give them employment, until they are able to increase the labor productivity more than it would have had those projects been in the hands of the private people. Everything is just a game. Everything is an illusion. Nothing is happening in the economy. If you're redistributing the money and it's not improving the productivity in the process, there's no way the overall production will increase, because at the end of the day, since government projects are considered less efficient than the private projects, the production is going to go down with the money that you would spend in a project in comparison to the projects that if taken care of by the private people, they would have increased the production with the same amount of resources plowed into it. That's what productivity is. If with the same resources you are able to produce more, or with lesser resources you are able to produce that much which was there before, like the earlier benchmark. So that's productivity for you. Now you can't trust government projects to increase productivity to a high level. What they can otherwise do, which what they can do instead is to put in money on a consistent basis, because that's what I'm going to talk about is not going to yield overnight effect. It's not going to change things around in a short span, but there has to be a consistent investment in two heads: health and education. India has India is one of those nations that has the most dismal percent of investment of public spending on health and education front. So if you talk to people in the rural region, even though they are literate, you don't feel as though you're talking to a literate person. Most of them have done their their education till middle class, but then you don't feel it that way. They are least exposed to even those things that could be of their benefit. They don't know how to apply for a loan. They don't know how to operate their bank accounts. I have personally dealt with certain people who are working day and night, and the financial strength that they are able to garner is bad. Most countries in the world are investing more than India. Even the African nations are that are suffering from a lot of economic constraints and years of restrictive administration. Even some of them are spending more on health and education. Countries that are doing well spend around 10 to 15% on health. US spends around 17%. And as far as education is concerned, most countries spend 6%. We spend 3% on health. We spend 3% on education. And the quality that we get out of this spending is poor. One thing that I would like to talk about before I close this video is that there are people who would like to start their own businesses, even in our country. A lot of people, almost about 61%. There was a research done. You can find it out on your own. It's on websites. That around 61% students want to start something of their own. But the normal universities, the general universities, their correlation with students who eventually go and start their own business is not much. Whereas there is a positive correlation between universities that offer specialized courses, the universities that offer specialization to the students, and people who end up starting their own business. The correlation between these two factors is positive. So we have maximum universities in Tamil Nadu that offer specialized courses, and we also have maximum number of small scale, medium scale, and micro industries in Tamil Nadu. A lot of startups in Tamil Nadu. Then the same case is with Maharashtra. A lot of specialization it offers. And then Andhra Pradesh. Then we also have West Bengal, whose administration is particularly interested in encouraging these small scale, medium scale, and micro scale industries. So there is support in form of, there's an indirect support. You are offering specialization to people, making them more, you're empowering people, you're helping people help themselves. At the administration, at the national level, there has to be, if you see more and effective changes on health and education front, then you can say with a lot of confidence and certainty that the government is doing well. All this Jan Dhan Yojana, which ultimately is, I don't even have to talk about. They deposit 500 rupees in senior citizens' account. A, these senior citizens don't know how to operate these bank accounts. B, 500 rupees. Wow. So, and you can't expect too much from the country as well. So the best thing that the administration can do is to invest into health and education, which will help people help themselves. And that's the idea. I'll end this video with what Gandhiji had to say. If you want to see change in the society, be that change. So all those people expecting a lot from the government, just don't do that. As long as the government facilitates people, in making things easier for people, that's it. That's pretty much it. Because there are nations like Switzerland, Sweden, Norway, all the North European nations, and also Germany, who stress most on these two factors, and it has started to show results. Right, bye.